Here we are at the Extreme Fighting Championship, and I've just bumped into James Turner. James, you are the Knight Rider of this sort of sport.
Yeah. That's right, yeah.
No, you drive a red Corvette, so you're cool anyway.
Well, thanks very much. I do my best.
Tell me why you're here and why these sort of events are so important to keep going in Cornwall.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, tonight's event is it's the return of a pioneering mixed martial arts promotion in Europe and in England, basically. Mr. Afzal is involved with the UFC, very veteran within the industry itself. And this is the first in a series of new events, a new run of XFC, basically, with new disciplines, because classically it was just mixed martial arts only. So now we've got mixed martial arts, we've got boxing, kickboxing will be in the next event. Yours truly, and a few other fighters as well from the kickboxing scene, Thai boxing. So it is an important event for the Southwest because events like these, and of course your own and everything else, it's really becoming part of a burgeoning fight scene in the Southwest. So tonight's a significant event in that cause, I would say.
What do you think? What would you say to the purists of the sport that don't want to see these, all these different genres coming together in one group? Because I think everybody needs everybody in combat sport.
Yeah, and from outset, I would say, do you know what? I understand where those people are coming from. I mean, look, I'm stuck in 1985, all right? I love an old kickboxing show all the way through. I get it. I'm a boxing fan too, like yourself. I mean, I understand it. However, the way we're moving, I think just for the sake of efficiency, these events, and it doesn't necessarily all events like this, but events where you have, all the different combat sports laid out in one room, one event, one night, they do serve their purpose. So I would encourage fight fans, as I've just said, I get it. I would encourage people to open their minds to it because, it is a multidiscipline combat sport landscape, but we can all coexist. Yeah. I love boxing too, right? Yeah. I'm a kickboxer. It can be done. So, I'd say, just give it a second thought, I guess.
This is the first time I've ever set foot in a cage, and it's a big cage, it's 24 foot. Tell me about some of the other disciplines and where they'll act out in a big cage like this.
Absolutely. So it's predominantly for mixed martial arts. It was created in the late 80s going into the early 90s for the first UFC. It was originally designed to look intimidating with the chain link fence. It was martial arts movie kind of influence. But actually, it's very stable and safe for mixed martial arts competition because when you're grappling, you don't have to worry about going out of the ring. Now, with that said, for stand-up fighting, I've actually fought several international kickboxing championship fights in Europe that were in the cage because on those events, of course, you've got mixed martial arts fights, as we were saying, also on the show. Yeah. So with that said, it has its advantages. You can't, if your game plan is to get someone on the ropes or work them into the corner specifically, it is a little bit different. You feel like very kind of like you're in a wide open space. But at the same time, people can't use that kind of cut the corner advantage against you. So you've got more ability in some respects where you wouldn't otherwise in the ring. So it's a learning adjustment for stand-up fighters, but believe it or not, the cage can be, especially once you have one or two fights, it can be a good platform for the stand-up arts, and of course it's very well catered to even if you went pure grappling as well as the MMA. So but like I say, I bet it's a bit of a new experience. It was for me too.
Tell us a little bit about what you're up to now, because I know you've been inducted recently into a Hall of Fame. Yep. You've wrote books, you do one-on-one. In Mevagissey 18 months ago, you gave me some stuff to give away and you were part of what we were doing there and it was gratefully received. But how can you see things, evolving in Cornwall and, how are you going to be a part of it and what else is in store for you right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, if anything I can do to give back to the martial arts community. I mean, I grew up in Cornwall and I was lucky to have had a series of great martial arts instructors over the years, and I stay in touch with all of them in this part of the country. And by officiating as well as competing, I'm still competing. It's anything I can do to help further, like I say, the burgeoning fight scene in the Southwest. And I will say that a lot of the events will be the multidiscipline events because that's the only way really that we can do this in a time efficient manner a lot of the time rather than devoting events to one to another. But it means a lot to me to be able to give back to the martial arts community ultimately, and any way I can help, whether it's through authoring books or a more local activity in terms of supporting events such as yourselves and such as your own events, I should say. That's basically it's martial arts. I guess I'm a martial artist first, and everything else comes second. And I don't see that changing.
And how many more years do you see yourself fighting for?
Well, I'm 33 now, and every fighter will say it, but I feel as good as I've ever been. So for the IKTA right now, I'm the European champion, #1 world contender. And I'm not exactly sure what title it's going to be for yet, but we're planning, myself and my master in Italy, we're looking at actually sourcing a European contender to come over here in September for the next event and have a big international or world kickboxing title fight on the next XFC. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But yeah, I'll do it as long as I'm fit and able. I mean, we got George Foreman is the obvious example, but my hero, Don the Dragon Wilson, he fought until he was 45, 48 actually. So yeah, never say never, right?
I hear this guy.
He's the greatest example here.
I was going to say, I hear this guy.
Weeks ago, I've heard of this guy called Clint Osborne. He's a pretty good example to go with as well.
These guys in their late 50s and mid 50s think they can keep going.
Sounds to me like, they're just now finding the nectar of youth, some of them. So yeah, I think there's something to be said for that for sure.
Thanks for your support and thanks for taking the time just before we kick off here tonight. I want you to join me in saying keep punching. Keep punching.
Guys.
Cheers.
Keep punching.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers, mate.
No, thanks, Clint. Good
Thank
stuff.
you.
How you doing?
Thank you.
I saw you about the other week and